G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Today we are talking the deep sleepers. Let's go!
Jordan open. Chicago with the lead. Bryant to Shaq.
Not a game. We talking about practice.
LeBron James with no regard for human life. Anything's possible.
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Curry for three. Wow! Unbelievable. Making it rain in New York. We the North are now we the champions.
Not the destination, it's the journey. Mamba out.
G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Mitch Casey, and you can find me on Twitter at BallBoysNBA and on Instagram at BallBoys Fantasy Basketball. Today we are talking some deep sleepers. If you haven't already, we've recently just dropped our sleepers or undervalued videos and also our bus overvalued videos as well. So make sure you check those ones out in conjunction with this one. So obviously the deep sleepers, we're talking about those later round guys, the guys that pick after pick 100, the last few rounds of the picks, last few rounds of your draft that we were taking some flyers on, or guys that should be ranked much higher than this, that should beat these rankings comfortably. If you haven't already, Ball Boys NBA, I should say, is open. Please go and check out ballboysnba.com. Check out our season guide on there. Top 156 players, standard league draft side, players ranked. Every player's got a description, what I think about them, where I think you should be drafting them, their punt rankings, what I think about how many games they're going to be playing, and every little comment on there. Every subscriber on there is also going to get access to a lot of the articles we'll be dropping both before the season starts and then as the season rolls on, with a lot of buy lows, sell highs, waiver wire pickups. That will be dropping before these podcasts come out. So if you want the up-to-date information as much as quickly possible, check out that. Buy a season guide. Only $10, guys, and it would help us with the podcast and continue us doing all the fantasy stuff that we like to do. So, but thank you. If you have signed up and bought a season guide, thank you so very much. It's something that I've been working along very hard to do these last couple of months, and I'm very excited to bring it to you guys. It's something I've wanted to do for a little while, so make sure you check it out, guys, if you want to win your drafts, because it will definitely help. I can guarantee you that. All right, deep sleepers. We are talking deep sleepers today. I'm going to start maybe with a couple of guys that you might not necessarily typically think of as like a deep sleeper type guy, because often we think about these super high upside, fun, exciting dudes. These first two are probably not as exciting, but I think they're being slept on a little bit in terms of their value, in terms of what they can do for us. And these two guys are Dorian Finney-Smith at 134 and Cam Johnson at 138. I'm probably more keen on Cam Johnson than I am Dorian Finney-Smith. However, they're both really undervalued players. So if I look at the rankings last year, Cam Johnson, 97th ranked player, Dorian Finney-Smith, 98th ranked player. So you've already got basically 30 to 40 spots of value there. So yes, we want to think about upside with these last few picks, but if you can get 30 or 40 spots ranked value, even if it's only capping out a top 100 value, I'm super confident that these guys are going to be doing the exact same thing, if not better, this season. I would rather take these guys with like your 11th, 12th pick, and then do the real flyer sort of stuff the last one or two rounds, than sort of have 4 or 5 flyer types and then half of them not work out anyway. I feel like you can just lock in some really good value with these two picks. In both cases, there's upside. Dorian Finney-Smith, you've got upside with Jalen Brunson leaving town, so a lot of usage going there away. I think that he and Luka are the two locks to get minutes in the mid-30s. Everyone else is kind of be filling in, low 30s, high 20s. I think Dorian Finney-Smith is one of their most important players. He's going to give you good threes, good rebounds. The field goal percentage is nice. He'll give you basically a steal per game. So someone who I do like. The free throw percentage is not great, but it's on very low attempts, so it's not going to hurt you too much. Low turnovers, it's not going to hurt you there. I know I'm not the biggest. I don't love turnovers as a category, but I do take it into account at least a little bit. So I do think Dorian Finney-Smith is a nice player. And Cam Johnson, there's a lot of talk about him starting over Jay Crowder this season. He was the 97th ranked player and only 26 minutes a night last year. So that has every chance to increase this year up to 30 minutes a night. And then he could go high. He could go 90, 80s kind of range. And then if he's at 138, there's 50 spots of value. So if you're getting him there, I'd probably prefer him, like I said, than Dorian Finney-Smith, just because there's a bit more minutes upside on his end. And you know, he's not super young, but he's younger than Dorian Finney-Smith. It is his 4th year in the NBA, although he's an older 4th-year guy. I just think his free throw percentage is obviously a bit better. He's got a bit more of maybe scoring upside than Finney-Smith does. And like I said, those minutes have an opportunity to scale up. So those two are sort of the first cab off the ranks here. Next couple of guys I'm going to be talking about here in the 140s. Bogdanovic and DeAnthony Melton. So DeAnthony Melton at 141 and Bogdanovic at 146. I think DeAnthony Melton, look, I'll put my hand up and say that he was on this list last year. It didn't not work out. He beat his ranking last year. It was up and down, absolutely. But he was still someone who, if I just pull up his ranking here, he was the 114th ranked guy in 23 minutes a night. So what are we expecting to happen? At 141, even if he just does exactly what he did last year, there's nearly 30 spots of value right there. And I do think that there is an opportunity for him to get more, maybe like 25, 26 minutes a night. Just because I think the 76ers will run a little bit of a tighter rotation. I do believe he's their 6th man. They might run this little like 3-guard lineup kind of situation with he, Tyrese Maxey, and James Harden. Depending on how many minutes they give PJ Tucker and Tobias Harris, they could run a bit smaller. Maybe you see some 3-guard lineups going on there. We don't know. All we do know is that DeAnthony Melton is an excellent per-minute guy. He's great at steals, great at threes, great rebounder for his position, good free throw percentage. The field goals kind of suck, but if you punt that, he's even better. In a punt field goal, he was a top 90 guy. So there's just nowhere to go but up for DeAnthony Melton, in my opinion. I don't think he gets worse than his 114 last year, so he could easily be a top 100 guy this season. It wouldn't shock me at all. Bogdanovic is interesting. Rumors going on about his injury. I think his knees are bothering him. He had, I think, off-season surgery. I did see somewhere that he might not be ready to start the season, but some places are saying that he's ready for training camp. One to monitor. If he's fine and in training camp and he plays some preseason games, I'm very comfortable drafting him closer to pick 100. I think he was, where was he? I think he was a top 80 guy from memory last year. Let me find his stats really quickly, guys. Where was he? Yeah, 74th ranked player last season. You do have DeJounte Murray coming over, but you do also have Gallinari, Herter also leaving. Okay, so DeJounte's coming in and replacing Herter, but he's still going to be coming off the bench. I still see him as their 6th man kind of guy. Maybe he loses a minute or two, but I don't think that should drop him 70 spots, which is basically what they're predicting. The only caveat there is if he's not ready to start the season and his injury is keeping him out, then I would fade him. But just keep an eye on the reports, because some reports I do see have him being ready for training camp. Some have him a bit questionable for starting opening night. But yeah, I do think that he could still be a chance at top 100 value as long as he's healthy. Next couple of guys, really fun ones here now, and 2 guys that I really do like in the 150s. Bones Highland and Jalen Suggs. Bones Highland at 154 and Jalen Suggs at 155. I am very bullish on both of these players. I'm probably a little more bullish on Suggs than I am Bones, just because I'm more confident in Suggs' minutes this season. I do think that, especially with the Gary Harris news, whilst it's not affecting him and he's not a relevant player, it just solidifies the fact that I think we're going to get 30 minutes a night of Suggs, I'm expecting a big leap in his second year. He was very, very tough to roster last season. Awful. He shot terrible. But I think with Paolo arriving, Franz there again, he's going to have less pressure on him. Fultz is there to take a bit of pressure off him. He's going to have to do a little bit less now. I think he can just pick his spots a little better. He was a great defender last year, so I still see really good value in his steals. I can actually see his blocks improving. He was a really good shot blocking guard in college. Didn't translate too much into the NBA, but that can come over a little bit more if he can do a bit more on the defensive side of the floor. I see his turnovers improving, his field goal percentage improving, the threes improving, his points going up as well. I'm expecting a big jump forward from Jalen Suggs this year, and I would be very happy to take him at the end of the draft, maybe even a couple of rounds earlier than this, because I think he's going to be some good value, especially if you're punting field goal percentage, because that was pretty bad last year. And it's not going to improve so much that he's going to be great in that category, but I don't think it'll be 36% or whatever it was last year. So love me some Jalen Suggs. And Bones Highland, he's a bit of a hype guy at the moment. Yes, Jamal Murray is coming back, so I don't think he starts or anything like that, but I think that, again, they're just running a bit of a tighter rotation than last year. I see him getting minutes into the mid-20s this year, which, based on his permanent production, similar to like a DeAnthony Melton, I can see him being someone that can do enough in those minutes to be relevant. And if there ever was to be an injury, or they are cautious with Jamal Murray early in the season, you can see big games from Bones. His second year, you expect him to take a step forward again. Someone who I liked in the draft more so than where he was drafted. So I do like me some Bones Highland at 154. Like that's the third last pick on a Standard League draft. I'd be taking him, again, a couple of rounds earlier than this, just to really lock that in. Good threes, good assists, good steals. His field goal and free throw percentage are both pretty good. So yeah, someone who's got a really good fantasy translation. And then we've got some really deep ones here. So those ones there, 100% should all be drafted in every league. But these ones here are just some nice, fun flyers that I like. Let's go with these first three first. We've got Mark Williams at 193, Trey Murphy at 209, and Walker Kessler at 220. I want to highlight Trey Murphy first because he's like kind of the odd man out in this group. Probably he's a much not as good a fantasy player than those other two big guys, but I see the pathway for his minutes this season. There's a lot of advanced stats out there to say that he was a part of their best five-man group on the roster when he went out there to space the floor. I think he benefits a lot with Zion coming back because they'll need his three-point shooting and spacing more so with Zion there, and they might run some lineups with Zion at the 5, and he can play the 3 or the 4, spread the court out. He does have that wingspan to provide that help side rim protection that they might lack when Zion's their center out there on the court. So I can see a scenario where he pushes up into like mid-20s in minutes, and in that kind of a role, I think he can have value. There is an opportunity that it doesn't work out, and he's a bit of a guy. So he's kind of like a last round guy, maybe second last round pick. I wouldn't go much earlier than that unless we get confirmation that he's going to be pushing those minutes up closer to the high 20s. Walker Kessler on this list at right now. Excuse me. Right now, at 220, that is ridiculous value. Ridiculous value. He is currently their starting center, in my opinion. And if you go and look at his stats from college, this man put up historic block numbers. I'm talking like 4 blocks in like less than 24 minutes a night kind of numbers. Like this guy was just insane. And if he gets minutes in the mid-20s, top 100 is a lock. It's a lock. So yeah, 25.6 minutes a night in college, 4.6 blocks. Like that is just crazy. That is insane. So if he gets minutes in the low to mid-20s, just kiss that ranking goodbye. It is absurd that he is ranked at 220 there with the roster that they've got. Now, if things change and they bring in a center that will start over him, of course you fade him. But right now, as it stands, Utah, I do believe he's their starting center. Even if he's not, and you've got, like, I think it's Azubuike is their other big man there. I don't know. They could get 24 minutes a night each. and Walker Kessler will just absolutely eat up that ranking. And I don't really see Utah bringing in like this great starting center. I mean, maybe they bring something back. Maybe it's an Obi Toppin from New York. That would kill his value a little bit. I could definitely see that. But right now, at 220, like far out, guys. We got to take that swing. I would be taking him, with my third to second last pick, easy. And Mark Williams, a little bit less sure about him, but if he does find himself battling for that starting role, he's only got Plumlee in front of him to beat out. The coach doesn't like rookies, but the coach also likes defense, and Mark Williams can provide that. I don't like him as much. I didn't like what I saw from him at Summer League. Different to what I was talking about with Jabari Smith. I just didn't like what I saw from the eye test. But in saying that, he's a good defensive center, and I think he'll work nicely with LaMelo Ball. So he's the kind of guy that I take with my last pick and just hope that he can get past Plumlee pretty early on in the season, wait a week or two, and if he's not there, then I can just drop him. But if, I don't think it will take him long to get past Plumlee, assuming the coach isn't a dick and just benches him for being a rookie. But I think he should push past Plumlee pretty quick. And then I'll highlight these last three guys. I think these are just last round flyers, but just guys that are a bit of upside, bit of something going on for them. Josh Primo at 232, Taylor Horton-Tucker at 257, and Jeremy Sohan at 261. By no means are these guys locks to be something super valuable, but they are going to, in my opinion, you should be drafting these guys, nearly 100 spots higher than this because they've got a chance to do something. Primo could be the starting point guard in San Antonio. Between he and Jones, we don't know. He's a young player, super young guy. I think he was the youngest guy in the draft last season, so lots of upside just from natural growth. He could start to show some things we haven't seen yet. Taylor Horton-Tucker, Utah, who knows what's going on there? Do they trade Donovan Mitchell? Do they trade Bogdanovic? Do they trade Mike Conley? He could see himself in a larger role, more minutes. There's enough kind of things happening there, opportunity there for him. And again, Jeremy Sohan with the Spurs. Whilst I don't think he'll start, I do think he'll be pushing around those low to mid-20s in minutes from the start of the season because he's versatile, he plays good defense. They don't have a lot of depth at that front court position. Like, what are you doing? Starting McDermott at the 4? Or are you starting Keldon Johnson at the 4? That means you might be starting Primo in the 2. Then your bench rotation is kind of all out of whack. Like, what are you doing? He can play some small ball 5. You don't really have many good backup centers, so I do see a pathway for Sohan to get some good minutes, and he can win those defensive stats to provide enough value if he does get those minutes, in my opinion. But again, those three, they're kind of just those last round pick flyers. If it doesn't work out, you just drop them, you move on to something else. So compared to those other guys, I'm less confident that they're going to be something special, but at least you've got a bit of upside with those players with your last pick. So that'll do it for our deep sleepers today, guys. Like I said in the last couple of podcasts, if these changes, and I do expect that they will close to the start of the season, I'll probably do another few of these podcasts close to the season as the rankings change. But let me know what you think. If you have any other deep sleepers, drop them in the comments. Give this video a big thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and check out ballboysnba.com. Get yourself a season guide. Laters.